The Brisbane Lions suffer the costly loss and suddenly the defending premiers are at maximum risk.
What's amiss at Collingwood? How deep do the Magpie woes run as the double chance is now in jeopardy?
And our coaches are either side of the cut in the year of living dangerously. Luke Beveridge and Adam Kingsley are with us.
We've talked about is to step into it, embrace all of it.
Get in the room and fix it.
It's unedifying for a senior coach to do that.
They're on the side of caution with the brain. Take the man off.
They played the best footy I've ever seen at the start of the season. And if you'd said Brisbane lift the cup, I would have said, of course they do.
It's the stuff that legends are made of.
What is holding the ball? I don't think I could answer it clearly right now.
I could do something wrong, and I need to go, and the board sacks me.
The fans love it, and with no fans, no 360, right?
Tension, Gaz, that was the theme of round 22. We only had the one upset, but there was maximum tension.
It's one of the few joys of not being in contention with the team that you follow, Gerard, that you can sit back and just watch. But, yeah, no, it was everywhere. There was marks, there's match-saving marks, you're in finals, you're out of finals. Thankfully, we're alive still, 2 weeks to go. After a meandering season, Gerard, it's just building to a climax.
It would have been awful if the Bulldogs had got beaten for the overall construct. You might have got the sugar hit.
You're correct. Yeah.
It would have
I can see bigger picture. It's good for the competition.
There has been a curious investigation which has run over the past 24 hours out of the AFL's integrity department. It was sparked by a still shot, a photo, which there's a fair chance you've been sent on social media over the past day or so, and it led to all manner of innuendo. It wasn't accompanied by the necessary vision to give you an idea of the context and potentially the full story. This is the fleeting interaction on Saturday between Nick Blakey and Henry Smith, but this is the angle as to why the AFL needed to investigate what had happened when everyone got a little bit handsy. We went through a couple of different phases with this during the day, Gaz.
We did, Gerard. The first photo I looked at, I said, hang on a minute. And then this bit of vision, I went, hang on a minute. And then the other bit of vision, which turned up, I said, hang on a minute. So, yeah, they needed to look at that. And this young man is... I think that's unnecessary. The AFL have cleared him of any wrongdoing. Yes. There's no complaint from Sydney or Nick Blakey. I think it's unnecessary. I just thought he lost his balance and put his hand down for balance initially. That would suggest that there's, another action to it, which is not. It's just not what we need. So, if they find him, then it wouldn't have surprised me. In the end, they've probably sent a message to him pretty clear to say, hey, this is not on in any circumstance, and this is the benefit of having multiple angles, Gerard, because initially, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and then you see the reverse angle and you go, nah, fair enough. And not on from that young man, and probably lucky he's not right now to check.
Both players spoken to, no complaint laid officially, and so the AFL's concluded no further action to be taken.
Yeah, had Nick had the lizard, Nick Blakey, thought that his tail had been pulled enough to put up a complaint, well, then we might be looking at something different.
All right. Here's how our week shapes on 360. Luke Beveridge and Adam Kingsley. So the coaches who sit 8th and 9th in the tense run home with 2 to play, we'll pick it all apart and then hand over to Couch, where they'll cast the big opinions of the how and the why with Jack Geordie, Jonathan Brown and Nathan Buckley. Tomorrow night's Players' Night, we're going to take a special look at the AFLW as it launches on Thursday night. So the captain of Carlton and Collingwood, Rubes, is going to be here, and Abby McKay is here as well. Ray's edge, so it's a big tribunal tomorrow night, and Ray was pretty well the first to blow the whistle on the dangerous push, and that's where we find ourselves now. Simon Goodwin has confirmed he's going to be here on Wednesday night, so we'll relive the past week with him. And then our coaches who have taken themselves out of the prospect of coaching again anytime soon, Adam Simpson and John Longmire as well, and Emma Moore and Laura Kane for the AFLW preview. So that's what we have lined up. Our Monday nights start with the awarding of the GVPs, which is really reaching the tense phase. The most valuable players in the estimation of Gary Lyon from the previous rounds. Don't overcomplicate it, because it's the best prize in footy. $93,000 worth of machinery, the Ford Mustang GT Fastback, iconic design, unreal performance, 5-litre V8 engine, goes like a dream.
Don't overcomplicate it, no fear nor favour, and it's just my opinion, and unfortunately for everyone else out there, that Yours doesn't matter in this instance, so it's just mine. Ed Richards was magnificent at the MCG yesterday. He was absolutely superb in amongst a whole myriad of great individual efforts. He was the one that stood out for me. I thought he was brilliant. Thought he's had just an outstanding year. He's going to poll well in the Brownlow medal. I think he's an All-Australian lock. And he kicked the 2 goals that just put them across the line and kept their season alive. So you've got to take into account the circumstance. They're staring down the barrel. And I know we'll talk about Sam Darcy's mark in a moment, but I thought this bloke was the defining reason they won. So 1 to Ed Richards, 2. Matthew Rowell, I was there, I watched it in action. Yeah. I watched him in action. He just takes your eye, Gerard. He takes your eye. And it's got a bit sticky towards the end, but he was the one. They actually didn't jump out of the blocks early. Carlton were really competitive all night. But he'll be polling a lot of votes. Because when you watch him, and I don't get to see the Gold Coast Suns live as much as others do, God, he catches your eye. He's a brilliant, brilliant player. He's tough and hard and courageous and fair. He breaks tackles. He tackles himself, Gerard. He had 8 tackles, 16 contested possessions, 13 score involvements. I love watching him play. So he gets 2. And then Isaac Heaney, who I've mentioned a couple of times, is playing games that you just don't play too often. Has done it again. 3rd time he's kicked 5 goals more as a midfield or a forward that floats into the midfield or a midfielder that floats down the other end. He's kicked 35 goals for the year. And he's kicked 5 goals 3 times, multiple goals in a number of occasions. And again, you're playing against a team that are playing for their life out on their home deck, and look at that, just separates himself.
He did everything.
So this is what it is about this award. It's players that appeal to you. Yeah. You might be different to me. He appeals to me, which I suspect he does to most.
We were going to put this in camera, but it's frankly too exciting to do that. We have 3 equal leaders now on 9 votes. Patrick Dangerfield, Isaac Heaney and Matt Rowell. We have Toby Green and Jesse Hogan.
When does it go? We're going
to go all the way.
What, through the final?
All the way. Crikey. Every Monday we sit here, we're casting votes.
Isaac better get busy then, because they're not going to be there.
Steel side bottom, Cozzy Pickett, Tom Green and Nick Dacos. Joint leaders.
There it is.
What a thrilling prospect. Been on over
3 cars. Might need 3.
I haven't thought that through. All right, let's get into the agenda. And at the top of it, the team that best personifies how narrow the margins in this season are the defending champions, the Brisbane Lions. Last week we sat and hailed their best footy as the best there is. And this week they've had the loss that changes everything.
The Swans hang on. Nothing can make up for the pain of a grand final loss. But making life difficult for the team that inflicted those wounds will have to do. And the Lions' top 4 chances are now skating on thin ice.
It's a weird game footy, isn't it? You get a really good win in that last week and then you get cleaned up in a big way tonight.
A week's a long time in football.
Isn't it?
How good were they looking last Saturday night?
When you put it next to the Gold Coast Suns performance, the Lions 2 of the last 3 weeks haven't been great.
There's no guarantees for them in terms of double chance.
I think this is double chance, and the look on Chris Fagan's face is exactly that.
If they lose to Fremantle next week, they will have to beat Hawthorn in round 24 to make it. And none of us thought that Brisbane would be in this conversation. No, none of us.
So we did a lot right, did a bit wrong, and we kept going. We kept hanging in there and having a crack at the game. And so, yeah, disappointing to lose that.
Cleaned up on their home deck, and now the toughest trip from Brisbane is over to Perth. They still might need to do it in the final round. They are on 14.5 wins, which last year saw them finish 5th, 2 points out of the double chance. 14.5 wins might condemn them to 9th. So they cover the whole span. Home finals, double chance, miss the 8. It's a tough spot to be in.
Snakes and ladder game that you love playing. It is. I've never seen it. I can't remember anything like it where it swings games and not just position inside the 8, but whether or not you're going to contend in final series are at stake. So you can't even lock away Fremantle. You can't lock away Brisbane. No. They play each other this weekend, which is just extraordinary that it's fallen like this. So anyway, let's just get to it. I can't wait for it to start on Friday night.
Yes, yeah. So they're going through the hardest draw we've ever seen.
Yep.
They're double-up games, 5 against top 9 teams, and the other one was Sydney, who were 10. So no team's ever been subjected to that. They are in the grip of injury at exactly the wrong time, and I think the telling elements watching on Saturday was 4 of their premiership defenders were missing. And when the Swans got the run on, there was just no connection down back to hold them at bay just for 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 6 minutes. They just leaped goals in that time.
No, and that doesn't help, I know. But I spoke long and hard today with someone who knows this game backwards and inside out, and just said that this Brisbane side this year, more than any other, you can tell really early on where they're at, which is it's not that they pick and choose. It's just that their level of intensity and desire and unconditional attack on the footy and the man with the footy is being determined a little bit by who they're playing over the journey. So Collingwood turn up, bang. I remember vividly down at Geelong, GMHBA Stadium. They turn up, bang. Within a heartbeat, you knew they were on. And yet you come to this game where the season's on the line, top 4, even finals, and very quickly you establish that level of intensity, the unconditional stuff that Chris Fagan demands, wasn't there, Gerard. It wasn't there. And when they get into that mood, they get done, and they get done badly. Against opposition sides, you don't think they will. So their record when they're up and they're on is imposing, but if they're not, it's not. So I can nearly guarantee you what they'll be like on Friday night against Fremantle. And Fremantle will be there forewarned and forearmed, which is why you want to get in front of the TV on Fox Footy and watch this on Friday night, because it is on for all the chips.
Is this the tyranny of being the defending champion?
Yes, it
Campaigns that run so long?
Yes, it is. And we'll get to another one who's hit a bit of a brick wall as well. It is a long, long demanding season, Gerard, and back-to-back would have to be one of the hardest things to do. I know it's happened in recent times, but I've never picked a back-to-backer because of the vagaries of a 28-week preparation. And then as you mentioned, that you lose personnel along the way. But this is a mindset thing for this group as much as anything else. They lost by 2 points in the end. They got busy towards the end, but that was a low pressure game from a team that has to play in the red zone.
Their margin for error is now gone.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So they should be in the red zone.
Yeah. What a fascinating case they are. And the other is Collingwood.
Yeah.
So the last 2 champs. There was no effort made by the coach to disguise where Collingwood finds itself, as the full travails, losing 4 out of 5, revealed itself pretty rawly on Thursday night.
Yeah, I apologise to our Magpie Army. That's a disappointing performance. You can't sugarcoat that. We're hurting. That one really hurt.
Caught in a bad romance.
It's a seismic shift in the race for the top 8.
Caught in a bad romance.
Collingwood look really ordinary. They've looked unorganised, back, middle and front. They look a bit rattled. It's just starting to sort of unravel.
Just a lack of system and then a lack of fight. Sometimes at the same time. We just had some really poor efforts. This is the reality of what we've got right now.
Collingwood now are in a flat spin. Now it's all starting to look a bit broken.
The big alarm bell for me is they started to look fumbly and they started to panic, which means your confidence is shot.
Like I've always said to our players, nothing's permanent. Nothing's permanent. You're 114,000 members, you expect a certain amount of effort, and we didn't have it. So you get disappointed with that. Judges saw no response. That'll create a headline, but yeah, bring it on. We've got to turn up.
Craig McRae's got some serious thinking to do.
And now bound for Adelaide to face the Crows. So after a performance like that, Gaz, there's always 2 choices. You can minimise, you can deflect, you can disguise, you can insulate, or you can face the full catastrophe.
Yep.
And it was instructive that the coach faced the full catastrophe.
Had no choice in the end, so it's 4 or 5. So you got to own up to it. You got 2 games to get it right, otherwise you're potentially not there at all. This is a fascinating case study, because this is a team that lost the first game, and then it either depends what camp you're in. The whole footy world went a bit mad and said this is what happens when you're old. That's not what's going to make the difference after 1 game of footy, whether you're old. It doesn't matter. Everyone can get through 8 games of footy if they're old. Where it'll get you is now. That's what it is. And I'm not being a revisionist. I'm not,
No, you said judge them in 4 months' time.
Don't judge them on round one and say they're old and slow. That's nonsense. But in a 22, 24-week season, the 30-plussers will feel the pinch. And that's fact. That's nothing. No one's ever beaten Father Time. I say it all the time. And it'll get all these blokes at some stage. And maybe it's just got a hold of a few of them, 4, 5, 2, 3, whatever it is. But this is where it is. So now, 4 from 5... older legs, big campaigns, you've thrown around, then you get injury on top of it, and then you start clutching at straws. All of a sudden, Billy Frampton become David Dench to, he'll come back and fix us. No, he won't. And now Jeremy Howe's out. No, Jeremy Howe's a really good player, but you've sold system to us all the way through, one in, one out. We're a system-based footy side. We'll go back to being the system-based footy side. And, then you've got selection integrity around Mitchell, around Ned Long, who is another great example of a player that was up for a long period of time. Fantastic story, but it grinds you down as well, Gerard. So they're not out of it. So the Collingwood fans can, jump onto the us against them, and you're calling us old and slow and all that sort of stuff. That is fine. They've just got to get... They're the best pressure team I've seen this year when they're pressuring in the manner that they are. Can they do it again? Or are they too tired? Or are they too beaten up? Are they too worn down? They've got too many other issues at play? I don't know. But they're going over to a joint that is really familiar to them and they love playing at. So, again, how good is that? Saturday night against the top of the table.
So the circumstances are perfect. This is where Collingwood thrives best.
Yep.
Circle the wagons, get on the road, into enemy territory. They've won 10 in a row at the ground. They've had it over the Crows. The question is, forward, they are not threatening in the way that they were. The mid, just when they had their older collection in the middle, and you went, we're still relying on that to get it done. For me, it's the defence.
Yes.
And the form of Darcy Moore, which has been, well exposed. But that moment where he tapped the ball, you go, what is that? And then it sort of all flowed from there. What
I've got them all written down.
Most?
I've got written, so Jamie Elliott's not... Jamie Elliott is the All-Australian that we thought he was in there. Then you got Long, Mitchell, Pendlebury, bottom side. He was going to win the Brownlow halfway. All those, they just come off slightly. But I'm also with you because we talked about the backs and how you've got to make them defend laterally last week. We said they're a great straight line. Well, they got outmarked straight line as well. So not only did they get beaten laterally last week, they got beaten down the line. And they're coming up against a side who do down the line better than anyone else with a big monster and a beard. And they do lateral with Rankin and all the others as well as anyone. So the challenge is immense for this footy club. They've risen to it before over in Adelaide, and we'll find out whether they can rise to it again at the most important time of the year where the stakes are the highest.
Top 2, top 4 are bound for elimination finals or a must-win game with Melbourne at the end as well. The other developing story tonight is out of the West, and there's a modern-day great, a dual Brownlow medalist. Nat Fyfe has determined that his 16th season will be his last. He's toiled away for the past 4 or 5 years, but there was a period of time where he was the absolute personification of the modern game. And in that period of time, from his first best and fairest in 2013 to his second Brownlow medal in 2019, those are the Fyfe years.
Yeah, there's two-time Brownlow medalist who, at different stages, you thought he'd win 4. He's just the Superman. He looked like a superhero, looked like a movie star and played like it. And the thing about him, Gerard, he was tough. Like, he had the skill set. His kicking was the only knock on him, but he was as hard and as tough as any of the modern era. And I enjoyed watching him play as much as anyone in recent times. So it's a career to be celebrated tonight, and hopefully, for his sake, there's still work to be done.
Yeah, so immensely grateful was the theme of the first part of it. The second was that they're right in it. And his last quarter said he's right in it too.
He came at the right time, hasn't he? So Hayden Young, hopefully gets back for their sake, but he's a nice one to be able to throw in there when they need it.
Because the first phase, when he came back, he didn't look like he had a place anymore. But
he had no continuity for a long time.
That was really reassuring, I thought, that last
I'd love him to be able to play through September and maybe do something really special, have the Crawford exit.
What sort of sub would he be in a cutthroat final?
I don't know whether you could keep him on the sub bench for that long. But, no, well done. I mean, he will be celebrated. They've got games to be played still, so the game is bigger than the individual, but he'll be celebrated at the right time in a big, big way.
What have they got? They've got Matthew Pavlich, who's into the Hall of Fame, and Fyfe, who will follow him in. So they're the two defining figures of the early years of the Dockers.
It's a fair CV, Gerard. That is one of the great CVs of the modern era, no question.
All right, we salute Nat Fyfe and have a few more weeks to enjoy him, and we'll see what role he has to play in September. The coaching landscape took shape across the weekend as both of our coaches, John Longmire and Adam Simpson,
thank God, Gerard,
took the introspection.
We had to ask them again, they wouldn't.
I think they realised that after your follow-up and follow-up, all right, I'm going to have to determine in my own mind. So they did the necessary introspection. I don't think it's a surprise to either of us.
Not one bit.
Now's not the time.
Not one bit, and right call when you, as I always say, if you're 99% certain you want to coach, you're not certain enough.
And then, so what is Melbourne doing? They're working behind the scenes to put their list together at the moment. And I think there's this unfortunate dynamic, and it's created by us on the outside, that suddenly Nathan Buckley is the presumptive candidate. And that's before either the club or he himself have done the full process to work out who's who and what's what.
Yeah, that's not fair on Nathan. And anyone that's saying that's just big noting and grandstanding themselves, because I'm certain that they're not aware of what they're doing. So what they need to do is they meet tomorrow, they announce their selection squad, and then cast the biggest net across the wide expanse of the country. There's no rush. They've got a time to get it on. There's no one else in the marketplace right now. Do the thorough search. Fly wherever you need to fly. Get in front of whoever you need to get in front of, which would include Nathan Buckley, of course. And if it spits out Nathan Buckley or it spits out Johnny Smith, then great. Get the best candidate. What they don't want is to have this perception that it's a boat race and that someone's already been picked. That's a nonsense, and that's been perpetuated by some people who don't know, which is, then you get other candidates going, hang on a minute, is this or isn't it? So the football club, Melbourne, need to be really, really clear tomorrow. I'd imagine they'll make some announcement and say, hey, this is a job that is to be secured and hopefully coveted. It's not a job that's been decided. They're the messages. Go for your life, get the best candidate, and then jump in behind whoever they choose.
Yes, that's right. You don't want the perception for the set of coaches who are thinking about, am I going to go through that? Am I going to put the intellectual effort into it? Am I going to present my best material?
That's happened before, Gerard.
Yeah.
There have been coaches' jobs before, and this is fact, that have been boat races, which is not fair to anyone. And then that is not the case here. And if anyone suggests it is, they're talking rot. And they need to throw this open, and the Melbourne Footy Club should benefit from getting access to the best possible candidates. If you're sacking your coach 3 weeks out, do your work now. Go to work and see what you can find.
And you want to know what Melbourne are thinking. So that much is unclear at the moment. All we have is the holding statement from the president, who won't be the leader next year, that they believe this group should be making finals.
Yeah.
So everyone's got work to do. And this is where I feel for Bucks, who's been put in this position.
And this is not Nathan Buckley's fault.
Backed him into
all
the
Nathan
corner.
Buckley has done is what you would expect and hope someone that's got coaching aspirations to do. So, yeah, this is an interesting, I think you used the word compelling a couple of times, and what will be, will be. Then Bucks can do what Bucks needs to do. He's got to get through tonight.
That's right.
But I think you're right. So I hope that Melbourne make that really clear tomorrow, that this is a wide open search, and the search is on.
Let's bring in our coaches who are living the tension piece at the moment. The Bulldogs went to the edge at three-quarter time and pulled it back to stay alive and keep this run for 8 or beyond very much alive. And on the other side is Adam Kingsley. His Giants hold 8. His possession 9/10 of the law.
Smooth Moves, brought to you by Jamison Whiskey.
The Jamison Smooth Move would take your breath away. This is the game's bravest act, and we have seen it by iconic forwards in the past. Jonathan Brown and Nick Riewoldt instantly came to mind. And Sam Darcy, early in his career. Gary Lyon, how great a moment is that?
I was... to ask the coach who's joined us, and both coaches, in fact, I'm sure Adam saw it, but we were going to do this off the top. Hi, Bevo, how are you?
Good guess.
Kingers, welcome. I'll take Gerard's job here. We're just going to wax Luke back.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Just the fact that you kicked the goal, Melbourne kicked the goal, goes back in the middle, you got 40 seconds, whatever it is, 45 seconds, and he's clearly made his mind up to say, if I get the chance, then nothing stops me. I'm going. And then the chance presents itself, and he's true to himself, and he goes where... angels fear to tread, really. And that's the thing, Bevo, I'd imagine, that you would know he's got this in him because we've all watched and admired his competitiveness and all that sort of stuff, but then to actually do it is another thing.
Yeah,
it's one of the, I think, common traits in the great key forwards. They've got enormous courage, and I suppose with a lad that tall with no high jump mat underneath him, it is a little bit like the iconic Nick Riewoldt mark, and it was pleasing to see him up on the 50-metre line too. You know, we're in sort of end-of-game scenario mode. We're only up by a goal, and rather than being the goal square, he took it upon himself to be up, and then to commit to that, it was, and to stabilise it at the end, it was a pretty pivotal moment in the game.
What did you see, Adam, in a moment like that?
Oh, yeah, it was a great moment. Really special. I felt sorry for Salem being under him at that size. He's just cannoned into him. It was not a situation you'd like to be in yourself, but, yeah, incredibly courageous. Funnily enough, our players watched the Nick Riewoldt mark a couple of weeks ago when he was in the rooms. And surprisingly, not many had actually watched a lot of it, but the oohs and ahs when it was played, you can just tell it was... just one of those marks that people only dream of taking, and Sam, saved the game really in essence by taking one of those.
Sorry, given the state of where this hole sits and the Dogs just outside, you're just in, were you barracking for Melbourne?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's pretty tight. It's pretty tight, and it's going to be a really stiff team. I know that. A team's going to end up on 14 or 15 wins and miss the finals, which I don't think has happened, or certainly doesn't happen regularly. So, fingers crossed it's not us, and I'm sure Bevo's the same with his mob, and, there's going to be an unlucky team.
Did you feel the tension of it at three-quarter time? For all that you live in, process and all, the bigger picture was pretty clear.
Yeah, the tension, I mean, it's probably there every week, but recent times when we've had that many scoring opportunities, we've capitalised. We hit the post a lot in the first half, and we couldn't gap them. And then it just didn't feel right. We were slipping over a lot. There were ground ball moments that seemed to be going in their favour. The G looked pristine on a beautiful Melbourne day, but it played a little bit like a wet day at times, and then one would bounce over Bailey Dale's head off a short length, so you couldn't sort of work out whether or not the footy gods were smiling or frowning on you. But, we sat uneasy for most of the day.
This is three-quarter time. Probably came at a good time for you, given that the momentum had swung late in that third quarter and they got to 10 points on the back of probably their best footy for the year. So it came at the right time, and then you've got to get them to respond in the manner that you want them to. So that... It's interesting to hear you say it was one of your better wins in your tenure there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, early in the year we came from behind at three-quarter time against Carlton and managed to win, but there's been 6 or 7 games this year where the game's been in the balance and we've held sway at different times, and this is a game where it seemed like we should have been in front by a little bit further at times, but we knew that the signals from a pretty talented Melbourne group, and they got some young fellas bubbling away who were going to be very good AFL players. We knew if their match winners sort of could get a hold of us here and there, we're going to be under the pump, and Max Gawn always looms large. So just needed to do some different things and reassure some boys with some encouragement who weren't having great days that it could work out for them in the last quarter. But to a lad, I think they stuck to their guns pretty well.
Was there one or two things that pleased you most? Like you mentioned the fact that, in the crunch time that Darcy got to the right spot, you would have role-played that, I'm sure, many times. Was there one or two things that you said, yep, they're in the right position here?
Yeah, I think in these games and over the journey, our midfield group have got a reputation of being influential players, influencing outcomes at different times. And, in a sense, you hope a little bit that your movers and shakers can do more than their bit to drag you over the line. And I felt like Ed, Richards, Marcus, Libba in particular, we gave a little bit more inside midfield time to Rolly Garcia, who'd just been subbed on, and Joel Frazier. So all 5 of those boys really drove something, and then some presence of mind. I mean, there were some clutch goals. Rolly West kicked a clutch goal. Aaron Norton, his side of it, but even Luke Cleary to kick that first one. It's only his second goal to get down that far as a sort of mid-pillar defender. To have the peace of mind, it meant that their heads were in the right space because we didn't clam up. And it was one of the things we talked about. We're not the most prolific offensive side in the comp for no reason. You can't stop and move away from methodology. So it was great that they moved through it.
Adam, you're about to play a game of maximum consequence against the Suns. So the tension in it, so you play perhaps the best quarter of the year against the Swans. It was a total mystery what happened against the Bulldogs, and then you were convincing enough yesterday. How are you moderating the highs and the lows of it?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of that over the last 3 weeks. I guess you're right. I just try and draw on what we've done over the last 13 weeks. We've won 10 of our last 13. We've been in really good form, and I mean we haven't been the best team in all of those games, but we've done enough to win 10 of them, obviously, and so we did that again on the weekend. We had really good patches. I was really happy. I think we're in good form, but again, the Gold Coast Suns present a formidable challenge up on their home deck. And we played them 2 months ago, and after 7 minutes of footy, they were 4 goals up. So we'd like to start a little bit better than what we did last time, but we managed to get over the line in the end. So we feel like we match up pretty well against those guys. Clearly, we're playing for a spot in the 8, and every game now, both this one and the following one against St Kilda, are critically important for us being able to make the 8. So, we're really looking forward to that challenge.
And personnel is undeniably important, and Jesse Hogan, a few more important. He's had some issues, so been in and out. You've given him some time. Where is he at? We'll be back next week, the week after, and how confident?
Yeah, I'm reasonably confident he'll be back this week against the Suns. He's he's had a fair break, 16 days since his last game, and feeling a little bit better. I'd like to see him run around a little bit this week before we make that call on him, and he's got to be pretty confident within himself, and he knows his body really well as an experienced player, so he'll be able to assess that and give us the thumbs up or the thumbs down. So fingers crossed we can get him. I don't think we'll get Buckley or Kelly back this weekend, which is something that we really need, but I don't think we will, and Daniels hopefully is a week away from getting back into the team too. So a few critical players that we rely heavily on, but we're going to have to get the job done without them.
Callum Brown mightn't want him back, mate. He just might have said, that's me now. Let's move aside, Jesse.
Yeah, well, you might be right. We've been really happy with the combination ahead of the ball that we have, and we feel like if one of those guys is contributing, then it lessens the load on the others around them. And certainly Callum in the first half in this game was terrific for us. Stringer the same, and then Toby got going, and Cadman got going in the second half, and we were less reliant. So we feel like we spread the load for the most part really well. Clearly we didn't do that a fortnight ago against Bevo's mob, but for the most part we've been reasonable.
Did you wait nervously today to see what would happen with Finn Callaghan? I feel like we don't quite know how these ones are going to land. So it ends up being a raised forearm at the moment of impact, and Hardiman is out of the game with concussion. Did you feel confident or a bit of trepidation?
No, I was always confident. I mean, Finn, we all know Finn, he's a ball player. It's one of those ones that, maybe it can go against you, but the reality is his eyes are on the ball, he's chasing the ball. It felt to me like the contact was, he wasn't deliberately making contact with Hardiman. It was more of a protection mode, and he was hunting the ball. So that was clearly his intent from our point of view.
Well, to both of you, really. I mean, how do you handle the speculation and the temptation to go ahead and try and work out where this whole thing unfolds? I suppose 4, 5, 6 weeks out you can be forgiven, but now you know exactly who's playing who on any given day, who needs to do what, or is it just very much blinkered?
The connotations and the scenarios, I still can't work it out. So, I don't know, Kingers, we're staying in the tent, we're just trying to work on what we can influence and control, and drawing on some inspiration. We've had some good moments. We've had a steady year without it being outstanding. And we're still looking for improvements. We think some of our individuals have really grown and started to influence the competition, but if we can get there, we'll need to grow again to be any sort of a chance, and that's the way we're approaching it. But it's exciting to be in it, for a start. And we all believe that if we can win our last two, that we will probably be there. That's the way we're approaching it.
Have you latched onto a theme? You're a theme man.
We've had lots of themes, Gaz. Some not too far-fetched. We've had one bubbling away that sort of held us in good stead for the season. That started pre-season, but I always say it's no use declaring them or bringing them to the surface unless you win the whole thing. And if we do, then we'll let you know what it is. Or was.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Have you done the ladder predictor, Adam?
Yeah, it's hard not to. But as Bevo said, you try and bring yourself back to the things that you can control, and continual improvement for us is a key feature as well as the Bulldogs there. And we've still got plenty of work to do as we know, and we found out the hard way 2 weeks ago against them that we've still got a lot of work to do, and a lot of areas of our game need to be tidied up, and so that was a nice reminder, but again, you do want to know what the outcome's going to be, and predict and be able to have a bit of certainty. But unfortunately, this year there's none of that.
Is Aaron Norton an All-Australian?
Well, I've said in the past, I don't like to declare our players as All-Australians because I feel like the selectors resent you if you do that. But you'd have to say that his influence over our momentum's been quite extraordinary. And he's just really grown off. He missed a bit of pre-season with glandular fever. He had an injury or two, but he's just been enormous. I mean, talking about key forwards with courage, he's been a Goliath down there for us. And
what is it though? Like, I've loved watching him play from the start, but he did get cold's a bit harsh, but he struggled there for a while. Is there anything that's clicked back for him, or is it body, or continuity?
Yeah, it's a number of things. I think if you quite simply think about oxygen to the brain when you're at your fittest, and being ready for the intensity, the speed for long durations. When you're fatiguing because your preparation's been interrupted a bit, it takes you a little while to get on top of it. He was probably dropping marks that he'd normally take early in the year, maybe missing some goals, because he was still trying to get the oxygen in at different times, and now he's more conditioned. You see him jumping more than he ever has. As we know, it just takes so much courage to do that every time, and he's that kind of player. You hold your breath each time he goes for it. So I think it's more just he's built into match fitness, and now we're seeing the best of him.
We're seeing the best of him. All right, so more of our conversation with Luke Beveridge and Adam Kingsley in a moment's time on Coaches' Nights, and then on the couch, the how and the why of round 22 and what it all means next. Jack, Geordie, Brownie and Bucks.
This is my kingdom come.
It's a week pretty well to the minute since Simon Goodwin's time came at Melbourne. The boards met, and then he was told in the aftermath, we're committed to live the journey together through a senior coach's year. Not imagining it would end like this, but Simon will be with us at the desk on Wednesday night to go through the toughest week that I imagine a coach confronts. Luke Beveridge, I think, did you say that you and Simon had a beer together somewhere over the summer by complete happenstance? Did you feel for him last week?
Yeah, I absolutely did, on both fronts. I was on the biannual surfing safari in Noosa Lombongan, in a villa there, just across from shipwrecks, just having a good time. And Goody was scoping out his wedding reception and having a surf as well. So we managed to catch up and have a quiet beer and a sing-along and a few other things. And it was really good because I'd never spent any time with Simon and got to know him a little bit, and we've had a little text exchange. I mean, I just congratulated him on everything he's achieved at the Demons, and hopefully, he finds his next best place somewhere in the industry or in the code. Because we know his capabilities, and he got back to me and wished us all the best. But it's sad in many ways, but we all sit in the chair and we understand that it could come at any time, and It's been obviously a really challenging week for the Melbourne Demons.
So now they get to the business of selecting a new coach. Would you, Adam, so you went through a pretty excellent process at the Giants. Would you be an advocate for that, as Gaz sort of illustrated at the top of the program? There's two ways to do it. You can either headhunt or you can run the process. Would you be, given your experience, a process guy?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So getting people in front of you and listening to them and giving them the opportunity to present, I feel is the best way. But I guess there's an argument on the other hand that if you know what you want, just go and get it. And so I'm not sure that one is necessarily better than the others. But yeah, I certainly have sat through quite a few processes along the journey. And, getting in front of a panel and being able to present your ideas and get them, helping them learn a little bit about you was, I always found quite beneficial.
What's the one bit of advice if you had a host of potential candidates looking on? Bevo, you've been in the job a bit longer, but is there something that you would suggest that held you in good stead this time around?
It's hard to know. There's so many facets of the job that you need to be across. How your club wants to play, what's the brand, who are the people that you're going to bring with you, what's your style, all those sort of things I think are incredibly important.
And are there good candidates? Just one back, Luke?
There's some great candidates out there. Kingers and I were just talking about, Brendan Lade, for instance, someone who works with us and does an enormous job. He's been fantastic for me and our football club. Kingers knows him as one of his best mates, and he knows what he's capable of in a footy sense. And Brendan's an aspiring senior coach. He'd be a great candidate. Daniel Pratt's an aspiring senior coach with us. There are others who've worked with me, Ash Hansen and others. But I think, one of the difficult things about nailing the job is providing the examples that are going to flush the situation. If you haven't been a senior coach, you haven't coached under your own steam anywhere, you can't actually provide those management, those hierarchical sort of aspects of the managerial side of things and managing up and all those sorts of things. So, sitting at the table, whether it's trying to sell yourself or whether you go the other way and it's an executive search sort of approach in the first instance and you shortlist through that, it's a massive challenge for the candidates.
Anyone in the tax department just squirreled away there?
Someone involved in regulatory regime should look in.
Hey, I want to ask you about Dylan Shield, where you sat on this. We haven't even talked about it yet, Jared, you and I. It's an unbelievable situation in as much as that he's been cited and they're going to have a look at it. It's all happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so it goes to the tribunal and the AFL seeking a 1 week suspension and the rules will be tested as to whether this is a suspendable offence.
What was your flinch reaction when you saw that for the first time, Kingers?
It didn't look great. No, and the way that Lual landed, geez, your heart missed a beat there for a second. But yeah, I didn't like the action. I think, all the way back to Ryan Mansell earlier on in the season, it's a similar type act and it could have ended really badly. So, the fact that it was his teammate who potentially could have got really, really badly injured, I guess potentially is the sticking point, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, the outcome and who it is that it gets
Can you
injured.
get suspended for injuring a teammate, Luke? Is that... It's such an interesting case.
Yeah, I mean, I've said all along that you need to bring it back to intent. So I'm just seeing it, in replay form for the first time. I'd like to see it a bit more, but was his intent to nudge him to get access to the ball initially? Is he going to mark that? Is he not even... Because ultimately, yes, he cannons into his teammate, but he's got an argument to say, I've used my body, and then he doesn't get access to it. So that'd surely be his defence. So I'd go back to intent. I don't think he's planning to push someone into his teammate. So sorry to argue with you, Kingers, but I see it the other way.
Yeah, so the Mansell one was, Kingers says he don't care, he just laugh it back. They said there's a player Mansell should have been fully anticipating that there were players in the area, and if he didn't, he needed to. That was basically what they said. I hated it, by the way, just put my 2 bobs worth in, so we'll see what happens.
Yep. Would a suspension rid the game of that action, Luke, do you think, or is that fairly natural to move a player into the jam to get out the back?
Well, I think if you got to almost put yourself in Dylan Shields' shoes here. You know how quickly the game moves. That's slow-mo. As the ball's approaching him, and you know we teach craft, we teach about engagement, early contact, late contact. He's made early contact. Is he protecting the space for himself? If he is, let him off. But if they think that he's pushed an opposition player trying to push him into someone else, then that's a different thing. I can't see it that way looking at that.
AFLW, so for 2 weeks we're going to have 18 games and both of your teams will be in action, men's and women's. Is this an exciting phase, Adam?
Yeah, it certainly is. Our girls are playing Essendon down at Manuka on Saturday. I think it's the first time they've ever played Essendon, incidentally. And so, yeah, that's an interesting little side note in itself. But I've seen our girls prepare. We use the same facilities, obviously, and share the gym and the oval, and the girls are in really good shape. They've been training really hard, and really exciting to see what they can do this year.
And yours is Saturday night, and it goes right back to the dawn of it all, the Dogs and the Dees.
It does. The old pioneers. Actually, Tam and I have got a joint press conference on Wednesday, if you want to come along. But I'll be there Saturday night, maybe having a canapé and a quiet ice water before the game, and hopefully the girls can step off on the right foot.
All right, we've got one other piece of business. The auctions from yesterday's game, both Melbourne and Bulldogs paraphernalia, are open for BCNA. I think we've got Jack Miney's boots on the desk over there.
Oscar Baker's jumper as well. Signed match ball, corporate boxes, a whole heap of stuff there. So we know the cause. We know how important it is. You got a connection too, Bevo?
Yeah, I mentioned pre-game. You don't often tweak, a twig. But my mum Rosa, in the middle part of her life, she's still going. She turned 90 in January this year, but she got through breast cancer. She had a mastectomy back then, and we're one of the fortunate families, to still have my mum around, and so many aunts. But as I said in the presser, I asked our players, how many of you have been affected through your families or friendship groups. And it looked like most of our playing group put their hand up. So we know how common it is. It's a great organisation and a great cause. So, and a pretty emotional day for many people. It was pleasing to see Oscar play so well on a day when his mum Trudy would have been watching him from above.
It was beautifully staged, and that's the aftermath of it. Luke, great to have you here.
Good on you, mate. Good luck.
Adam, good luck for what comes next.
Kingers.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So coaches' night tonight, players' night tomorrow night. We are taking the AFLW threads. Abby and Rubes, before they captain these two clubs, Carlton and Collingwood.
You're on your best behaviour, Gerard. Ruby doesn't, she'll be all over you.
Season 10, the players' perspective tomorrow.
NAB Goal of the Year nominees.
Cast your eye over these, Gaz. NAB Goal of the Year nominees. Caleb Sarong, nice little steal, take it all the way.
Another massive game, the captain, yeah, nice game.
Jack Lukosius before he went over, gave us this little piece.
These are all in the one game, this is extraordinary stuff.
That's 3 or 4 different parts to that.
He's capable of doing this, Jack.
Yes. And then, you've got the validation of the coach, and then Murphy Reid.
I'm going hard tomorrow night. I'm going to preempt the NAB Rising Star. Murphy Reid will be in the discussion, but I've got another in mind. I'll save it for tomorrow night. How's that for tea?
All 3 from one game. Gaz, excellent. See you then. Let's head on the couch with Jack Revolt.